Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back to another reading. Take a moment to breathe, relax your shoulders, and allow yourself to settle into this message. There is something coming through today that feels unusually specific. This is about a conversation that took place without you being present, and somehow, you became the subject of that conversation. You were not there to hear the words. You did not know what was being discussed. You may not even realize that certain people have been paying such close attention to you. But something about you was brought up. And once the conversation started, it became much more revealing than anyone expected. What I am picking up first is that your name came into the conversation naturally. This was not necessarily a planned discussion where someone sat down and decided to talk about you. It could have started with something incredibly simple. Someone saw something. Someone remembered something. Someone mentioned an interaction. Someone asked a question. And suddenly, the conversation became about you. But here is where the energy changes. The person who first mentioned you did not sound completely neutral. There was curiosity behind their words. There was interest. There was something they wanted to understand. And another person in the conversation immediately recognized that there was more emotion involved than they were admitting. This feels especially connected to someone who has either been interested in you, had feelings for you, or has spent a significant amount of time observing you from a distance. They may have tried to act casual. They may have pretended that you were not important to them. They may have even told themselves that they had moved on from whatever happened between you. But when your name came up, their reaction gave them away. And that is what makes this conversation so interesting. People can control their words. They can choose what they want to say. They can pretend they do not care. But sometimes their reaction happens before their mind has time to protect them. A change in their expression, a sudden silence, a smile they tried to hide, a question that came too quickly. That is what I feel around this situation. Someone knows more about you than they want other people to realize. They know what you have been doing. They may know what you have been working toward. They may know that you have changed. And they may even know small details about your appearance that they would not know unless they had been paying attention. This is where the conversation seems to become focused on your looks. Someone commented on how you have been looking lately. But it was not simply a basic compliment. It was something much more specific. They noticed your face. They noticed your eyes. They noticed the way you dress. They noticed the way you carry yourself. They noticed that there is something different about you now. Perhaps you have changed your style. Perhaps you have become more comfortable in your own skin. Perhaps you have simply started carrying yourself with more confidence. Whatever it is, people are noticing. And someone said that you have a presence that is difficult to ignore. There are plenty of attractive people in the world, but not everyone leaves an impression. You do. There is something about the way you enter a room, sit quietly, speak, smile, or even remain silent that can make people curious about you. You may not be doing anything intentionally. That is actually part of the reason why it has such an effect. You are not performing. You are not constantly trying to prove that you are interesting. You are simply existing in your own energy. And someone has noticed that. They may have described you as someone who does not need to seek attention because attention naturally finds you. Now, I want to go deeper because I feel another layer to this conversation. Someone compared you to other people, not necessarily in a negative way, but they noticed that there was something different about you. They may have said that you have a certain quality that is difficult to copy. Maybe it is your confidence. Maybe it is your calmness. Maybe it is the way you can look completely composed even when there is a lot happening internally. Maybe it is your ability to walk away without creating a scene. Maybe it is the fact that you do not tell everyone everything about yourself. Whatever the reason, there is something mysterious about your energy. People cannot completely figure you out. And when people cannot figure someone out, they become curious. They start paying closer attention. They start asking questions. They start looking for clues. This is why someone may have been checking your social media more often. This is why someone may ask mutual friends about you. This is why someone may casually bring your name into conversations just to see what other people know. They want information. But more importantly, they want reassurance. Someone wants to know whether you have moved on. That question feels especially strong. They may wonder if there is someone else in your life. They may wonder whether you are happier without them. They may wonder whether you still think about them. And they may be too proud or too nervous to ask you directly. So instead, they listen, they watch, they gather information. And sometimes they talk about you with other people. There is also a feeling that someone in this conversation was surprised by how positively others spoke about you. Maybe this person had created a certain image of you in their mind. Maybe they assumed other people did not understand you. Maybe they thought you were difficult to approach. But then someone else said something completely different. They described you as genuine. They described you as memorable. They described you as someone who has more depth than people initially realize. And suddenly, the conversation took on a different tone. Because once someone begins speaking positively about you, another person starts remembering all the little things they experienced with you. A particular smile, a conversation, the way you looked at them, something you said, the way you reacted to a situation, a moment that seemed insignificant at the time but became meaningful later. That is what happens when someone has unresolved feelings. Small memories become much bigger with time, and I feel someone has been replaying certain moments with you. They may remember things you completely forgot. They may remember what you were wearing. They may remember the expression on your face. They may remember how you responded when they were vulnerable. They may remember how you made them feel. And that is important because people do not always miss the exact event. Sometimes they miss the version of themselves they experienced around another person. Someone felt seen by you, someone felt understood by you, someone felt comfortable around you, and they may not have appreciated that fully when they had access to it. Now that there is distance, they are beginning to understand it. There is also another energy coming through. Someone may have tried to minimize you. Perhaps they said something like, "It is not that serious." Perhaps they tried to convince themselves that you were not important. But their behavior tells another story. Because if you were truly irrelevant, why are they still talking about you? Why are they still asking questions? Why are they still remembering details? Why does your name still create a reaction? That contradiction is very revealing. Sometimes the person who says they do not care is the person who has been thinking the most. And I feel someone around you has been doing exactly that. They have been trying to convince themselves that they are unaffected, but they are not. There is something about your recent energy that has challenged their perception of you. You are not chasing them. You are not asking for their attention. You are not constantly explaining your feelings. And that has made them wonder whether they underestimated you. They may have expected you to remain emotionally attached to an old version of the connection. Instead, you started changing. You became more private. You became more selective. You started protecting your peace. You stopped giving unlimited access to people who were inconsistent with you. And that shift is visible. People can feel when someone has stopped seeking approval. There is a quiet confidence that comes from no longer needing everyone to understand you. And that confidence can be incredibly attractive. Someone may have said that you seem happier now. Even if you do not feel completely happy every single day, your energy is different. You seem less concerned about what other people think. You seem more focused on your own life. And that creates curiosity. Because when someone stops trying to be understood, people suddenly want to understand them. That is exactly the energy here. Someone wants to know what is happening inside your world. They want to know what you are thinking. They want to know who has your attention. They want to know whether there is still a place for them. And perhaps the biggest question in their mind is whether they still have an effect on you. That is something they may never openly admit. But I feel that this conversation brought that question to the surface. Someone may have asked, "Do you think they still care?" And that question may have created an uncomfortable silence, because nobody could confidently answer. And that uncertainty is important. This is why I want you to understand something. You do not need to chase people who are discussing you. You do not need to send a message because you think someone misses you. You do not need to create jealousy. Or do not need to prove that you have changed. Let your life speak for you. If someone wants to know what you are doing, they can ask. If someone wants to know how you feel, they can communicate. If someone wants another chance, they can demonstrate that through consistent action. Your job is not to decode every hidden signal. Your job is to protect your peace. And there is another beautiful message here. The conversation about you may have made someone realize that your value was not dependent on their approval. You were valuable before they recognized it. You were attractive before they admitted it. You were memorable before they started missing you. You were worthy before they decided to appreciate you. Do not give another person the power to determine how valuable you feel. If they recognize you now, wonderful. If they regret losing access to you, that is their realization. If they suddenly become interested again, observe their actions. Do not abandon your standards simply because someone finally sees what they once overlooked. I also feel that more than one person may have been involved in this conversation. One person was openly complimentary. Another was curious. Another may have been quietly listening. And someone may have been uncomfortable because they knew the conversation was getting too close to the truth. That person may be connected to the individual who has feelings for you. They may know that this person still thinks about you. They may have heard things that you never heard. They may know about conversations that happened privately, and they may have realized that this person's feelings are stronger than they pretend. This is why your name may continue to come up, because the story is not completely finished in someone's mind. There's still something unresolved. There are still unanswered questions. There are still feelings that have not been properly expressed. But remember, unresolved feelings do not automatically mean you should return to a situation. Sometimes people miss you because they lost access to you. Sometimes they regret their behavior. Sometimes they genuinely want to make things right. And sometimes they simply miss the comfort you provided. You have to watch what they do next. Words are easy. Actions tell the truth. So if someone comes forward, allow them to show you what they mean. Do not rush, do not assume, do not fill in the gaps for them. Let them communicate, let them explain, let them demonstrate. Because you have already learned what inconsistency feels like. You do not need to repeat the lesson. And beautiful soul, there is something very powerful about the way this reading ends. The conversation about you was not really about your appearance. It was about your transformation. People noticed your looks because your energy has changed. People noticed your confidence because your relationship with yourself has changed. People noticed your presence because you stopped shrinking yourself for others. You are becoming more comfortable taking up space, and that is why you are being noticed. So when you hear that someone talked about you, do not immediately worry about whether it was positive or negative. Ask yourself a better question. Why are they still thinking about me? Why does my name still matter? Why am I still creating a reaction? Because sometimes the strongest evidence that you made an impact is not what someone says to your face. It is what comes out when you are not there. And something came out. A truth slipped through. Someone revealed that they notice you. Someone revealed that they remember you. Someone revealed that your appearance, your energy, and your presence have stayed in their mind. And someone may have realized that they underestimated you. So continue walking forward. Keep taking care of yourself. Keep growing. Keep becoming more confident. Keep choosing people who choose you clearly. And if someone from the past is watching from a distance, let them watch until they are ready to communicate honestly. You do not need to run toward uncertainty. You deserve clarity. You deserve effort. You deserve someone who is proud to acknowledge your value, rather than someone who only realizes it after losing access to you. There was a conversation about you. You were not there. But something important was revealed. People are noticing the way you look. They are noticing the way you carry yourself. They are noticing your confidence. They are noticing your transformation. And most importantly, someone who thought they understood you is realizing that there is much more to you than they ever saw before. So keep your head high. Keep your heart protected. And do not become smaller just because someone else is finally noticing how much you shine. Your presence was never invisible. They simply needed distance to understand what was standing in front of them. Take a deep breath, beautiful soul. If this message resonated with you, keep what feels meaningful and release anything that does not belong to your story. Sometimes the conversations we never hear contain the truths we were never expecting to discover. And sometimes when people talk about you in your absence, they accidentally reveal exactly how much your presence still matters. Stay in your energy, stay true to yourself, and let the people who truly value you show it through their actions.